My name's Clive Fugle. I'm the master carver to Puia, and I've been here something like 40 years, and I've done the job of master carver here for at least 22 years. This is a piece that I've carved. It's a traditional talking stick used by the orator when delivering speeches, and normally it's genealogical. At the top of the stick you have a little figure which represents the guardian of the stick, and then further down you have one of the ancestors of the holder of the stick, and then further down another ancestor, and can also be a guardian too, and the head at the bottom is also another ancestor. So if you look at the stick very carefully, you'll see that this one is pointing one side, it's on guard that side. This one's looking to the front, is on guard. This one is looking to the rear, is on guard. And this head is looking on both sides. So the stick is on guard all the way around these figures. An important feature when delivering oratory on the marae. In this carving we see what we call a marakiho. A marakiho can be virtually a Taniwha in its own right. In the 1860s, in post-European times, the Maori saw pictures of mermaids in books, and so they copied that idea and transferred it into carving. And that's what you see here. Looking very carefully, you'll see the tail closely resembling that of a mermaid. In this case, you'll see that the marakiho here is a male because he's holding a weapon. And the weapon he's holding is what we call a wahaika, which is a hand weapon. The marakiho really, or the Taniwha form, you would find in rivers, streams, even in the sea. And a feature of this particular creature is the tongue. And you'll notice it resembles much like a vacuum cleaner. And they would use that tongue to suck people out of canoes and so on, and indeed that's how they feed. And you see this one is sucking a fish into the tongue. On this window here, you'll see the use of lizards. The lizard was considered a Taniwha in its own right as well, in some areas of Maori. In this case, you'll see that the lizard has been placed over the window. The idea is to stop people passing a body through the window. When the person dies, normally the body is placed either in the porch, where we are now, or inside the house. So in this area in particular, the body goes through the door and not through the window. So it's telling you don't put the body through the window of the house. That's why those lizards are placed there. They're likened to a Taniwha in their own right. They can be. They can be what we call a kaitiaki to a guardian. Okay, well, this story here is the story of Ngā Rāranui. Ngā Rāranui was the brother of Rangiwewe. Now Rangiwewe comes down from Tamatakapua, who was the captain of the Arawa canoe. And Rangiwewe actually is my ancestor. And their father was Tawaki Heimoa, whose father was Whakaui. And Whakaui is the ancestor of the Ngāti Whakaui people of this area. So Ngā Rāranui features prominently in the stories because he was married to a lady from the Waikato area, from the other side. And the story went that she'd go back home periodically and talk to her, to her people about her husband and how wonderful he was and how handsome and all the rest of it. So she was so infatuated with him. And they got to thinking, well, if this guy is so good, maybe we need to have a look at him. So they invited him over to their area. So when Ngāraranui arrived there, they thought, well, we'll try him out. So what they did, they placed a live lizard in front of him. Now, the lizard was considered, in many ways, a taniwha, and it was a guardian, and also it was greatly feared by the Maori in those days. It was felt that if a lizard got inside your body, it would simply eat you out from inside. So to test Ngāraranui out, they gave him the lizard and said, well, there's the lizard, you eat it. So he had to eat this lizard whole, and it was still alive and kicking. So he picked the lizard up and he ate it and called their bluff. So he became very famous after that, and I dare say that's how he really got the name Ngāraranui, which means the great lizard. And if we look across on the other side of the house, back of me here, you'll see that there's a carving with the lizard going into the mouth. This story involves my own tribal area, and in the Tauranga area in the Bay of Plenty, where the Wairua River runs through, you go across where the bridge is now, on the left hand side there was a deep hole there, and I believe the hole is still there. The story goes that in that hole lived a taniwha, and the taniwha's name was Poripori. Now Poripori was a female taniwha, and she used to look after the people that were there. Even today, when children are swimming in that river and they get into trouble, it's said that Poripori usually helps them out. The story revolves around the fact that many centuries ago, the people living in a pa across the river went and took her eggs, 2 of the eggs from the nest. And she wasn't exactly happy about that, so she went up to get the eggs back. So she stormed into the pa, into the village, and she got her eggs back. So that's why she didn't hurt the people or anything. She just wanted her eggs back to go back into the litter. But it so happened that at that time, the people were being waylaid by another taniwha which lived further up the Waimapu River, further on. And this was a bad taniwha, would come down and eat the people. And Poripori didn't like that, so she went up and dealt to this taniwha and sent it all the way down the Wairua River, chased it all the way down to Wellington, to where our capital city is. So chased it up into the harbour, and that's where it's allegedly you get the name Rotorua from. So having chased the taniwha away from the area, it went back to its own lair again. And that's the story of Poripori. Within this area, tribal area, there are 6 known taniwha. And in this case, we're going to deal with the story of at least one of them. And the story that I'm going to relate is the story of Pekehaua. And Pekehaua lived at a place called, well, we call it Taniwha Springs now, largely because that's where he lived, in these springs. And the story goes that he would waylay people along the way, and he would eat them and so on. And he got quite a nuisance made quite a nuisance of himself. And the local people decided it was time to get rid of him. So they hired the services of a gentleman called Pikata. Now Pikata came over to deal to Pekehaua, and what he did, he built a big fish net, huge fish net, and he was able to lure Pekehaua into the net, and that's how he was killed eventually. And when they cut Pekehaua open, they found the bodies of many warriors, their weapons and everything inside, showing the carnage that Pekehaua had caused upon the people. In here you see the use of what we call a mamaia figure. It's a half profile figure. And here we see serpentine shape representing the Taniwha.